Hi. I'm not in studio. We're still going to do a show.
Welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. Of course, we're coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Make sure you join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. I'm Anthony Totri, joined, as always, by the man in the TV screen. That is Erik Ruby. Erik with a K. We got the deli man cooking it up behind the Mac, making sandwiches as always. We got Ben in the chat saying party time. I love it. Make sure you hit that like button, you hit the subscribe button, and you drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. From Jose Perez to the man in the TV. Welcome back, Rubus. I know you had such a long vacation.
I know, yeah. The day off and the 4.5-hour show was certainly relaxing. No, good time though. I'm excited to be back. Big day for ASU. Loved hearing from Graham. Excited to go over what he said. It's just exciting times all around on both beats that I'm on. Wow.
I know. We finally got some positivity in the world of hoops here in the Valley. And as it relates to Graham Rossini, again, this is at this point. He's been the Arizona State athletic director, I believe, now a little bit longer than a full year. So first and foremost, want to congratulate Graham on what I feel like has been a really, really solid first year at the helm. Erik, I feel like you could second that.
Best case scenario, I feel like, under Graham Rossini. I remember the wait for Graham and the build up. And honestly, I think that there was a little bit of a feeling of being underwhelmed, and nothing against him, but more just, man, like we waited so long to see who the next athletic director was going to be. And then it kind of just turned out to be this guy who's internal, right? And you're like, oh, okay, like, why did it take so long? And then you started to hear from Graham, and then you started to hear the plan. And I feel like from the moment that we heard the guy speak and that we started hearing of some people talk about their interactions with him and how much he cared about this program, it made a lot of sense. But he was dealt not the easiest hand in the world. And obviously, he's been helped out by how successful a lot of these sports teams have been under the first year. But I would say about as damn near as perfect of a year from an athletic director as you could get, given the hand that he was dealt off the start.
Yeah, I think he was 100% dealt. Maybe the most challenging hand that you possibly could as an incoming athletic director, specifically at this university, right, where you have the questions about DFA, you have the whole Herm situation, you're following Ray Anderson, you know how the fan base feels about that. Heck, there's even part of the fan base that doesn't really like or support Michael Crow as president of this university. So now you immediately have to come in as somebody that not a lot of people in the public like actually know about. And again, through a year, 4 Big 12 championships for Arizona State, 4 runner-ups as well. And this is a athletic department that I feel like, and I know you feel the same way, is certainly on the up and up. I don't want to spend too much time of us going back and forth. I know we got a ton of sound from Graham Rossini today that I want to dive into. I want to preface some things, though, for some folks listening at home or watching live. There are certainly going to be some things that you hear that maybe throw you off a little bit, whether that be about revenue sharing, whether that be about Bobby Hurley, whether that be about DFA. And all I would say is maybe sit back for a second, as I have tried to do from the jump as it relates to Graham Rossini, and let the man who has cooked for the last year, let him see what he does with it, right? Because that's what we said when he got hired. It's like, you know what? I can't really have an opinion one way or another. Let's see what he does. And through a year, I've been pleasantly surprised, as I imagine a ton of ASU fans have. So if you hear something today that maybe you get a knee-jerk reaction, let's just see what happens at the end of the entire thing. Look, I think the main point of focus that we'll kick off on here is revenue sharing, and how revenue sharing in the House settlement realistically are going to impact Arizona State athletics from a whole. Now, we on this show often talk about men's basketball, baseball, football, women's basketball. But as we know, Erik, there are a number of sports, 26 at Arizona State. So Graham was pretty much point blank asked today if there's been any discussion about eliminating any of those sports to better handle the revenue sharing aspect of things. And Graham gave a pretty point blank answer back.
Yeah, it's very challenging, but we want to continue to focus on ways that we can accomplish all 26 sports. We created them for a reason. They have value to ASU in terms of, again, the connection tool, and for such a dynamic university, such an international university, you look at a lot of our rosters, there's international athletes on most of them, and that's really important for our university. So we want to continue to do everything we can to maintain all 26. We've not had a conversation about moving off that. It is challenging, and so the call to action to all Sun Devil fans who may love some of our Olympic sports is, hey, find a way to plug in, find a way to support this team. We're very much focused on program endowments, head coaching endowments, and different mechanisms that allow us to continue to resource our sports. We've added scholarships to all 26. There are a lot of schools that are maybe incrementally adding a small number, or pulling scholarships out of sports, giving them the football to go from 85 to 105, or giving those 2 extra men's basketball scholarships. I'd be nervous if I'm at those schools. If I'm a sport that's not a big revenue driver and it is a cost center, you better have some incremental value to the university. So we're looking at ways to just resource our programs, and really in a market like ours, we have population, we have 350,000 alums in Maricopa County. There's connection points to a lot of our sports, and there's people that are willing to step up and help us resource those. But it will be challenging moving forward. We're going to take on that challenge because we believe that there's a reason we have all 26, and we want to give all these athletes the same opportunities that they're accustomed to.
First and foremost, I mean, that's solid to hear, right? That's the last thing that you wanted at Arizona State with this new kind of era of college athletics with revenue sharing, the House settlement, that Arizona State was going to be forced, like I'm sure a bunch of other schools at some point will be, to maybe eliminate some of these Olympic sports. More specifically, we know that Arizona State, Erik, really, really takes pride in these Olympic sports, and it's nice to hear that there, at least as it right now stands, there's not going to be any elimination of these sports.
Yeah, him leaving the door open, I think, was intentional. Not necessarily the fact that they're planning on doing that, but more in the fact that you don't know how all of this is going to play out in the future for Arizona State. Yeah. You can sit back right now and say, yeah, if you go out there and you walk out there as Graham Rossini and you say, we're not cutting any sports, we're not cutting any non-revenue sports, we're keeping all of this, then you put yourself in a box if like 5-6 years down the line, let's say it's literally unsustainable, right? And you would have to cut multiple sports if you don't divert more funds over to football or whatever you figure out it might be, like worst case scenario. You can't go out and say that. Right. But if you go out and say, we're going to try our best and we see the value and we are actually starting to put more scholarships into this, we're not pulling these things out. And you're also not saying like, hey, we're going to keep these sports around, but we're also not going to invest in them. Right. Because that's also like, what's the point then if you're going to keep around a non-revenue Olympic sport, but then also push them to the side and not pour into them? Then they're not going to have success and there's no point in keeping them around. So I think he walked the line pretty well there, and I would like to see Arizona State continue to try to support as many sports programs as possible. But I think the main thing that stood out to me, Totri, and I'm interested in your thoughts, is he admitted it's going to be challenging, right? Like it is for sure something that is going to be an obstacle for Arizona State to compete with some of these schools, especially the schools that specialize in certain sports, whether it's like a Gonzaga with basketball, or you look at some Big 12 schools that don't have baseball, right? Yeah. Like Iowa State. You have to spread the love somehow, and I do think that's going to be a pretty tall task for this athletic department over the next couple of years.
Yeah, he had brought up specifically that there are some unique universities, specifically in the Big East, that don't necessarily have some of the challenges that Arizona State and some of the other Power Four schools are going to have to try and tackle, and that's going to change basketball probably more so than any of the other sports. But to your point, him saying that it's challenging, I think for me is almost comforting. Because I think as an Arizona State fan, and correct me if you feel differently, or Shane, if you feel differently on this one, like we had spent so many years, both kind of with Ray Anderson and in the Pac-12, where it was just like, I feel like people are just continuing to say things that others want to hear. That either, okay, like this is where we're going, don't worry, a deal's almost done. Your media rights deal, don't worry, it's coming. We're going to get Apple TV, we're going to get whatever. Or even as it relates to like Herm Edwards and everything going on here, like it's, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Trust the process, whatever. To have an athletic director at the helm and say, you know what, like, yeah, this is new. This is different. It's challenging, but we have taken the necessary steps prior to the announcement of trying to get everything as neat and clean as possible. And we're going to continue to take those steps. For me, it's more so comforting, like as somebody that supports Arizona State, than somebody just blatantly going up there and saying, you know what, no, we've got it completely taken care of. Because we would know in reality, that's a load of crap.
Yeah, and you would be putting yourself in a box then too, right? Because knowing how hard and how difficult it's going to be to maintain these sports, and I think it's certainly on the table in the next 5 to 6 years. You see a couple sports cut because it's inevitable. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. It's clear Graham doesn't want that. Yeah. But unfortunately, that is something that is on the table going forward for any school. It's not just an Arizona State problem, but Arizona State, I don't know where they rank as far as Olympic sports and non-revenue sharing sports, but I'm sure they're probably on the higher end as far as schools. They're at the very top?
I don't know if they're at the very top. I know they're among the top.
Yeah, like they're clearly more than other schools, and I wouldn't be shocked if they're the highest in the Big 12 when it comes to that. But also, you mentioned the honesty, you mentioned the transparency. I do appreciate that. Seems to be a pretty big theme with this athletic department, whether it comes from coaches, whether it comes from Graham, is being transparent and also calling on, the fans and the NIL aspect of it and saying, you don't want to see these sports disappear, support them, right? Like we have 350,000 of you here locally, and we have millions of you across the world. It's never been easier to support your school and to support these athletic programs. If you don't want to see them disappear, it's not just an Arizona State thing. It's an Arizona State fan thing as well. And as maybe some fans don't want to hear that, but if you go out and you support these teams, they're a lot more likely to stay around than if you just say, oh, well, it is what it is. 5-6 years from now, honestly, that could cost you a program.
Yeah. No, that's 100% the truth. Glenn asking about basketball and baseball. Don't worry, we will get to basketball, men's basketball specifically, and everything Graham had to say a little bit later on in the show. Will brings up an interesting comment. Could see a rotation of sports for revenue sharing or an incentive-based ranking system for the non-revenue sports. That's something that I came into this media availability with just a lot of questions. Kind of what is it going to look like at Arizona State? What more specifically is the split going to look like for the Arizona State Sun Devils? We know there has been at least one school in Texas Tech in the Big 12 that has actually released the exact percentages of how they are going to be doing the split. This is what Graham Rossini said in terms of how Arizona State is going to be doing revenue sharing splits.
Yeah, football and men's basketball will be the heaviest recipients of it. No surprise there. We have a handful of sports that will participate in it. We don't have a box with specific formulas that we're announcing. We're going to have a little bit of fluidity into that. But again, a handful of our sports are getting it. That's not something that we're planning on announcing with specifics beyond that.
Pretty obvious. Football, men's basketball going to be heavy recipients of it. How do you feel, though, about it being a little bit more of a fluid situation? Like maybe there's a program that's on the up and up, and next year we're going to invest a little bit more money to see that thing through, or vice versa. Maybe there's a team and a program that is maybe trending in the opposite direction, and we're just going to maybe let that sit and rebuild on its own a little bit.
I think it makes sense. Again, he's not putting himself in a box, right? I feel like with Texas Tech specifically, 5 years from now, that could look completely different, right? Yeah. Obviously, the top of the top is likely going to stay the same. But I wouldn't be shocked if, like, Texas Tech softball gets a way bigger investment over the next couple of years, right? And the same thing with Arizona State. Like, let's say, you look at the hockey program and you see this moment and they're selling out mullet over and over and over again. Well, I'm giving hockey a lot of money right now, but 5, 7, 8 years down the line, if hockey kind of peters out a bit, which obviously nobody hopes happens, and let's say ASU baseball, ASU women's basketball, ASU softball, ASU gymnastics, right, is just like on the precipice of being a powerhouse and a mainstay in the community like Arizona State hockey is right now, you don't want to say, hey, well, 8 years ago, we said that we are going to give a majority of this share to hockey, and now we can't divert any funds. Like, everything is fluid here, and honestly, there's probably going to be different rules when it comes to everything 8 years from now as well. I'm not shocked that you see a lot of room for interpretation and room for adjusting in what Graham says. I think that's extremely calculated, not in like a negative sense, but more in like if I go out here and say something that's surefire besides, basketball and football, those are going to be your main money drivers because that's what drives the money into the school. Somebody's going to clip that and hold that to him as something changes 3-4 years from now.
No, you're 100% right. Glenn in the chat saying another thing that's cool about Graham is he actually listens to fans. He changed spring game time, cheaper beer, transparent on social media, easy and willing to listen to any problem. Graham cares. Yeah, I think that's something that you see, Erik, not just with Rossini, but all of the coaches in place, it seems, right now at Arizona State, especially the more recent ones, the Molly Miller, the Kenny Dillingham, the JJ Van Niels, like these people at Arizona State, Graham included in this, like there is maroon and gold run through their veins at this point.
Yeah, they care. I'd throw, Greg Powers in there as well as somebody who, and when we talked to him specifically, very much put out there like how much this program means to him and how much the school means to him. That is the essence of what's building this football program right now. That's hopefully going to be the essence of what builds this basketball program. Who knows what happens with Bobby, but if he remains or whoever's next, they're going to love ASU. Right. And I think Graham, being an alum, being a former athlete as well, and having this type of passion for it is going to show in all of his hires. I can't imagine this program hiring anybody that doesn't have some sort of like love or relation to this school, because that's how you sell it, right? You've got Tempe, you've got a decent amount of NIL. We talked about the Cam Scadaboo factor of it all. I think it was either last week or the week before. And you have the love, right? You have the community. What did it was Julian Hugo, who was a football recruit, said, the culture is unlike anything I've ever seen, right? Molly Miller is building an incredible roster in her first year here, the pipeline to paradise, right? Hockey in the desert has become a growing sport. A lot of that comes because they truly love and care, and they want people who love and care about this. And that's why I think Graham is the perfect hire, right? And we talked about it off the top. You had to wait a little bit for him, but you want somebody who gives an F about if this stuff works out or not just on the money side of it, but like, are you, the fan, happy about the experience? Like, they genuinely care about that.
Yeah, 100%. That is super, super important. Look, that's just the tip of the iceberg on the PHNX Sun Devils show. Still a lot to get to from Graham Rossini's availability. Again, happy Graham-versary to everybody. The PHNX Sun Devils show is going to be back on the other side of this quick break. Look, I don't think there is a better place to go watch the NBA draft specifically. I know you're going to be doing it from in studio, Rubus, but if you're not going to be in the PHNX studios, which I imagine most of you won't be, then head over to Wild Horse Pass or any of the casinos that Gila River Resorts and Casinos have. Of course, you can watch the NBA draft. You can watch all of the other amazing sports that are going on. But Rubus, I mean, you can attest to this. You spent a weekend or an evening in Wild Horse Pass in the hotel. What was that experience like for you?
Oh, I loved it. The moment I walked in, I'm like, this is where I needed to be tonight. It was packed. The energy was awesome. There were shows going on. I didn't want to leave. They had to drag me out kicking and screaming the next day.
Shows, money, sports, and a beautiful, beautiful environment. Something to always remember at Gila River Resorts and Casinos is you do you at Gila River Resorts Casinos. Make sure you visit playatgila.com for more details.
Listen, if you live in Arizona, you probably have walked outside and went, whew,
Yeah.
recently because it is hot and it's only getting hotter. But what if I told you that you can spend time outside in the shade and it's 20 degrees cooler? Plus, it's stylish. That's where All Pro Shade Concepts comes in. The roll down patio shades block out the sun and keep your patio up to 20 degrees cooler with hundreds of colors and durable fabric to withstand the Arizona sun. I know our own GM Espo got his roll down patio shade and said the installation process was seamless. Me, as soon as I get my own place, you know who I'm calling. It's the most trusted local shade company, voted #1 by Ranking Arizona for patio shades in 2024, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google. But it's not just the numbers, it's the people. They've been in business for over 20 years in the Valley and started making window shades by hand for friends and family. Now they're one of the largest installers of patio roll-down shades and motorized awnings in the Valley. Of course, they're licensed, bonded, and insured, so call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com right now to schedule your free estimate.
Guys, make sure you hit that like button, you hit the subscribe button, and you drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. I'm curious from anybody else in the chat. I know Glenn threw it in there. If you have had any experiences with the ASU athletic director in Graham Rossini, throw them in the chat, especially if they're positive ones. We'd love to hear them as we celebrate the Graham-iversary today, the 1 year. Or maybe 1 year and change of Graham Rossini being named the athletic director at Arizona State. But Rubus, one of the more interesting questions that Graham Rossini received today, and he did so in both the large media availability, and then I asked him in a one-on-one that we'll hopefully put out on YouTube or social a little bit later on in today, was about everything that's kind of going on in the world, right? We like to use sports as like an escape from everything that's going on, but it is a heavy time in the world. And as we know from the conversation that we had about the 26 sports that Arizona State does have, there are a lot of international athletes that call themselves Sun Devils. So Graham was actually posed with the question, just maybe what conversations have been like with everything going on around the world, specifically in the Middle East, the travel bans going on. And he found a way to tie it in that, like, international athletes are important to ASU, but so are the local ones. This is what Graham Rossini had to say.
It just sharpens our focus because we're a very international university. We've got tens of thousands of students across ASU, so it's not unique to athletics. So we're lucky to have infrastructure at ASU that we can lean on and rely in terms of access to information, help with visas when we're navigating that. But we're going to continue to we're going to recruit talent all over the world. I do think there's enormous value at our institution where if we have a volleyball player from Latvia, well, we also have a women's tennis player from Latvia. We also have students from Latvia. And there's these connection points that you can create outside of the one athlete or the one sport that's just good for the ASU community. And it's also nice to be at an institution where we can recruit globally. And we've had a number of our sports with very high-performing, successful student athletes. Volleyball, to use them again, just signed an outside hitter from the French national team. She'll be here this fall as a key member of our volleyball program. And so the more success we have, the more visible that we are. We're talking to the Big 12 about competing in international waters in a lot of our sports. I think that could happen as soon as spring of 26 and maybe even fall of 26. So very much mindful of opportunities to extend the ASU brand beyond the Valley or even beyond the country for that matter. And so that's good for athletics. It's also very good for ASU as an institution. The flip side of that is we've been very focused on recruiting Arizona kids in all of our sports. And I think that's critically important for us as we continue to build a fan base, that we've got to be relevant in our backyard. We've got to have rosters that people in the community look at and say, I know that high school, or we're from that hometown, or we've got a relationship with that family and we want to show up and cheer them on and be a part of a great game day in all of our sports. And so I think we're fortunate to be able to be on both ends of that, where we're going to dominate Arizona. We're going to have our coaches visible in all of these sports. It's a great way for us to build fan bases and support. But we're also going to be very, very aggressive in finding the best talent available in the world.
Now, more so, again, you'll see in the one-on-one later, kind of more specific to the conflicts and stuff going on. This being more centered around the international athletes at ASU and their importance, right? We talk often about how this is the largest public institution in the world as it relates to a university, and ASU really does want to capitalize off of all of the different experiences and all the different backgrounds of the athletes at ASU, especially, Erik, in a time where revenue sharing and all this other stuff is going to be super, super important. I think it will ultimately help ASU to really maximize getting athletes with different experiences, shared experiences all over the world, because it opens up so many more doors.
Well, especially when our first conversation was about Olympic sports and about like these non-main sports, right? Like when you look at football and basketball is a little bit less so. Basketball is definitely more of an international sport, but your main revenue driving sport in football is very much like America based, right? Like you don't get a lot of football recruits from overseas. Now, I'm not saying there are none,
There's
right?
a
And I'm
punter
not saying
from
there are
Australia.
none. Yeah, like it's possible, right? It's for sure. But like when you're trying to fill out 26 different rosters for 26 different sports and you know, these non like revenue driving, like American focused sports, if you don't dip your toes in international water, you're not going to have programs in the first place. Right. So that makes a ton of sense, but you got to always, you know, like everything, not just in sports, not just in athletics, but life, you got to have balance with it. And Arizona State very, very much prides themselves on being local. I mean, I feel like that's kind of like a microcosm of the conversation we've had about football recruiting and, you know, how they've gone out of state. They've gone to Texas and California and Louisiana and Georgia, you know, whatever it is. And they also need to stay home, right? Like you need to show the community here that you care about the community here. And that goes beyond just hiring people that care about it. It's also them making decisions that show and prove that they're invested here locally. So I think all of that makes sense. I'm not shocked to really hear any of that. I continue to say like Graham Rossini's not putting himself in any corner here. He's like, yeah, we'll go local, we'll go international. Like that's kind of how Arizona State should do, is use the sheer numbers of your university to your advantage.
Yeah. Now there is one specific topic that Graham did put himself in a corner, and it's the I support Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt corner. I don't know.
It's a good corner to be in.
It's a great corner to be in. I know Kenny Dillingham has been planted. We've got a flag planted in that corner for some time now. I don't know if you guys could see it from that specific shot that we have, but Graham had a bunch of trophies up there. He had the Territorial Cup. He had the volleyball Big 12 championship. And then right in front of everything, he had Sam Leavitt's $15,000 donation NIL check to the Pat Tillman Foundation. And of course, Graham was smiling from ear to ear when he was asked about Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt.
I'm smiling because I love the kids that are in our department. You know, we've got, Sam Leavitt is really taken on massive leadership in ASU, not just for football, but for all of ASU. And I think when you see a check like this, where he's donating his NIL money back to the Pat Tillman Foundation, it tells me that they understand the legacy of our institution. They understand what it's like to be a Sun Devil. They understand the spirit of giving back. And that's what NIL has always been intended to accomplish, is let young people earn by promoting something that they care about. What's cool about Sam is he also is wise beyond his years in terms of the spirit of giving it back and sharing the resources and leaving an environment better than he found it. And so I'm glad we brought that, because it's a good reminder of the kind of kids and the kind of character that are in our programs, and also the reality of what we can accomplish. I think college sports has historically been very selfish. It's help us because we're inefficient at running the industry ourselves. We need our handout for people to come give us resources. We want to give that back. We want to build a better business, but we want to be very community-oriented, where we're affecting causes that are important in the Valley. And it's about giving that back and using our platform as a tool for social good and awareness, and the spirit of giving back to the community that's supporting us in return. So Sam's the best. You know, Heisman candidate going into the season, coming off this incredible run. He is connected to his head coach. He's connected to his coaching staff and his teammates, and we've got a good one leading this football program.
You know what I take away from this, Erik? Alignment.
What? Oh, wow.
From Sam to Kenny to Graham, they're all aligned in support, right? For ASU, and then, of course, Sam being a Heisman level quarterback.
And being from Michigan State.
And I don't know how we didn't put that together. That's
one thing we might have to worry about. Screw the transfer portal.
He's
He might
gonna
get
go
drafted by
be a
the
Sun.
Suns.
Yeah.
Oh, they did. Hey, they got another
tonight?
2nd round pick, and we know Sam could hoop. So
Yeah, 59th.
No, thank you.
Tell you what, If they drafted Sam Leavitt 59, I'd talk myself into it for sure.
No, I would be so upset. Don't do that.
First of all, the alignment thing is like when you're watching a TV show and a character from another TV show pops up, you're like, whoa, I didn't expect that to be here. When you popped out with alignment, I was like, oh, man, wow, okay.
It's good stuff, man. It's really, really good. Again, like with all of the big questions that you have surrounding college athletics in general, to have Graham sit up there with that check and all of the other, the trophies and stuff, but to just be like, you know what, Sam's a good dude. And the fact that he is just a redshirt sophomore is still like blows my mind. Or is he? Yeah, he's a redshirt sophomore. It's still, it's crazy to me that he is still so young. And to hear Graham, who's been, around professional sports, even with the Diamondbacks for such a long period of time, to say that he's wise beyond his years, I think speaks volumes to the type of quarterback and the type of player that Sam is.
Yeah, Sam was born December 20th, 2004. He was born 11 days before New Year's Eve of 2004.
Gross.
Very. Here's the thing, though, with Sam, and if you want to keep on using football as a microcosm, where Kenny says that the players, they maintain the culture. Like the coaches set the standard and the players maintain the culture. When you have somebody like that who everybody can point to and say, look, has all the talent in the world, is a Heisman candidate, dude, he could be an ass. Like quarterbacks like that could totally just walk around like they're better than everybody else. They won't talk to anybody. By all means, we hear from all of Sam's teammates that, yeah, he's a hard worker, but he's also a good dude. Obviously, the NIL donation, to the Pat Tillman Foundation is massive. Was it him that was also giving some of his merchandise revenue, distributing that as well? Like, I mean, come on, man. Like that. Those are the type of things that, he screams the culture that Kenny Dillingham is building, that Arizona State is building. And like, I don't think it's a far-fetched thing to say he's the most front-facing, important athlete in all of the Arizona State. Like, he is Mr. Sun Devil when it comes to all these athletes here, and is the one who will get the most press coverage, who will get the most like love locally, right? And whose team probably has the highest ceiling as well. So there's a lot on his shoulders, and he's handled it gracefully. And to be able to look at him and say, yeah, he represents this university well, in the same way that Cam Scatterbo did it, and you have to give Scat credit, and even some of the players that came before him on a much smaller stage because the team wasn't there as well. It definitely helps when it feels like they're all aligned. Alignment's such a funny word to me, but it definitely makes more sense using it in an Arizona State context right now than it does with the Suns context, even though, Brian Gregory low-key cooking.
Not low-key, he's kind of cooking.
He's high-key kind of cooking. Don't get me started, though.
The internet says, man, I like the moves. I like the moves so far, but what do I know?
I agree.
What do I know? Look,
ball, Totri. You know ball.
I know ball. Look, we're going to get to Arizona State basketball on the other side of this quick break.
Is that a threat? Not a threat when I tell you that time is running out on Mountain America Credit Union, baby. Listen, July 31st is creeping up. Only about a month away. You can get 2 times points on reward credit cards purchases. Use your Mountain America Rewards credit card and watch the points pile up. It's perfect for gas, which you should get today, groceries, travel, home projects, and all other purchases. It's an easy way to stretch your dollar in a world that is seemingly losing easy ways to stretch your dollar, since you get twice as many rewards. Redeem your double points rewards like travel rebates, gift cards, and event tickets. This is a limited time only until July 31st. Double the points. Take advantage while you can. Details are at macu.com/double. Loans are on approved credit. Offers could change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply.
Look, Mountain America Credit Union, they're trying to help you stretch your dollar. Circle K is trying to help you save that dollar. All you got to do is sign up to become an Inner Circle member. It's Circle K's free membership program. It's literally the easiest membership program to sign up for, in my personal, humble opinion. All you got to do, go to the App Store, download the app, enter your email and phone number, and that's it. That's all you got to do, and you are going to start cashing in on those deals that they have for you over at Circle K. And if I'm not mistaken, today is a Circle K Fuel Day. So 40 cents off per gallon at participating locations. So if you need to fill up your car, go do it. If you have half a tank, go fill up. If you got 3/4 of a tank, go to your nearest Circle K, because while you're filling up on gas, you can go inside, grab yourself a Polar Pop. They've always got deals on that. Grab yourself a Chicken Tornado. I know those are the deli man's favorites. And you can just have yourself a grand old Gramiversary, if you will. Again, make sure you join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Glenn saying, you think Graham Rossini plays NCAA football video game? Do we think he does?
Yeah, not like religiously though, but I feel like he could pick up. I feel like he could pick up the sticks for sure.
Yeah, I feel like. Well, look, this is a family man. He has got a lot on his plate. I don't know how much time he actually has, like free time, to go play video games. In all honesty, I would be a little concerned if he was really good at NCAA. That would tell me that he has been playing it a little too much. And yeah, I would have some questions. But I think as it stands right now, maybe the next time we have him in studio, we'll challenge him to a quick one-on-one, and we'll see what happens.
Dude, what if he just whoops you? What if he just takes you down?
I mean, it's a lose-lose for him. Either I beat him, or he beats me, and then I question him for how much time he has been spending playing NCAA. So it's really a lose-lose for him. But ultimately, I know the folks at home don't really care if Graham Rossini is playing video games. They care about what he had to say about Bobby Hurley, DFA, and the future of Arizona State basketball. Ruby, we've heard already from the university. We've heard from Graham Rossini in the past about potential DFA renovations. We've heard multi-year renovations taking place at DFA in the future. Graham, again, asked pretty early on in today's media availability about the future of DFA, if there are going to be any plans to really, dive into the weeds of this building and change it up completely. This is what Graham had to say about the home of Arizona State men's basketball.
I think it's a great building. I think it's capable of a lot more, and we're hard at work on all these things. I alluded to it this spring. We're hard at work on finalizing a plan for a multi-year renovation. That is continuing. We've already put about $10+ million into it over the last 18 months that most people wouldn't notice. It's more infrastructure, it's more mechanical, it's more electrical, life safety systems, etc. That's kind of the foundation that we need before we do some of the more fan-facing upgrades that we're planning on starting next summer. We want to get a complete plan finalized, and we'll announce that hopefully here in very short order. It's been fun in the process. When you're talking to architects, you're talking to people about what this building needs to become moving forward. It's an incredible university asset, and there's been great history in that building, not only from the basketball and the other sports that compete there, but those of you in the Valley in the 70s and 80s, I mean, the concerts that came through this building, and U2 and Jethro Tull and AC/DC and on. The Rat Pack played in that arena at one point. And so literally our women's basketball team room before they go on the court used to be the green room. And so Molly, you got to tell parents, the kids may not care, but the parents might be excited that Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, these guys were in DFA. And so my point there is that there's great history, there's great bones in the building. And we've got Mullet Arena, that's a shiny new toy. We've got Desert Financial Arena that's got incredible history and legacy and really strong bones in it. We want to bring those to life. We want to tell those stories throughout the concourse. Obviously, it's where our Sun Devil Athletics Hall of Fame is represented. I think on a game day, there's a lot more that building's capable of. And so we're designing around a better game day for any sport. How is it a better tool for graduation? Could it also be a tool for attracting non-ASU events to campus? That's going to be important in this new environment moving forward. So Desert Financial is high on our list. It's something that we're working on very much daily right now, and hope to have some news there more specifically soon.
Now, look, I prefaced at the start of the show that you may hear some things from Graham that would rub you the wrong way. This is probably one of those things for Arizona State fans when they hear DFA. I feel like they immediately have a knee-jerk reaction where it's like, tear it down. And Graham is not going to tear it down. He followed this up, and there was another follow-up question just in terms of has there been any discussion about tearing down that building? And he pretty much point blank said there hasn't been any discussion. It's important to him. It's important to President Crow that they keep college basketball on campus. They brought up the new restaurants that they have right next to the arena. But he does feel like, yes, there is a lot of history within that building. But I do like his response in saying that, we feel like this building can be so much more.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely needs to be more, right? I love that, classic bands played there 30 years ago. But if you walk around that building now, like, it needs to be updated, right? Like, history is great, but you don't honor the building by letting it go to crap, right? Like, you've got to update it. You've got to make it better. And he said that they will. So, you take what you can get and you don't throw a fit, right? I never really thought that they were going to tear down the whole thing, but
it's got good bones.
They certainly need to, huh?
It's got good bones.
Sure. Whatever that means. But I
think it just means it's structurally sound.
Yeah,
which I would hope so.
Well, we don't know that for sure. I mean, it's just like the bones definitely aren't the plumbing. We know that.
Correct.
I think it's just like the base of it is good. Like everything, the idea of DFA is good.
The idea of DFA is good.
When I think of DFA, like I think that if this team was good, it would be fun to play in because it's intimate and it's like it's simple and you're right on top of the players. So I don't know. I really like the idea of DFA. I hate the
what it currently is.
I hate going to DFA now.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
Actually, no, I kind of like it.
Will brings up something in the chat that I want to contest. He says the only concern about DFA renovation is that they're not going to do any massive renovations due to the $10 million. They already put in minor upgrades in the past couple of years. That is not true. Given what Graham has said today, they have put money, a significant amount of money, we're talking millions of dollars, into the building, like mechanically and all of that type of stuff to really shore things up safety wise, et cetera, right? As we kind of joke about those other little things. But they will at some point from what I gathered down the road, put more money into the fan experience side of DFA. That's just not something that you're going to see happen right now. Again, you've got the multi-year renovations that are set to start potentially next summer. So Graham had said that they're going to really kick it in a high drive or high gear, when the summer actually starts next year and trying to maximize every single day possible. That way there isn't a ton of issues with trying to get, where does men's basketball have to play? Where does, some of these other, where's wrestling going, et cetera. So I do expect that there will be some significant fan experience renovations to DFA at some point in the future, but I don't want to let Will's comment of them not doing massive renovations just go out there into the ether, because that is not true. Given what Graham has said and really the intention of what Graham wants Arizona State to be about, right? Like he was up there point blank today, asked about DFA. We're not knocking it down. So if we're not knocking it down and everybody and their mother in this conference is competing at a high level in basketball, well, you got to have nice facilities. Graham knows that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is not even something that I've really thought about, but think about how often people transfer within conference. If you're visiting Arizona State as a basketball team and you're coming from a BYU, a Kansas, right? You're coming from even like a Cincinnati, like places that have better basketball facilities. And then you stay at what DFA currently has, which honestly, I don't want to say this point blank as it's 100% truth, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's the worst basketball arena in the conference, the worst facility in the conference. I don't know because I haven't been there, but it's hard to imagine because of some of the stuff that needs to be up to date that there are many that are worse. And I'm sure none of the premier programs have worse facilities here. So if you do want to compete, it goes more than just finding the right head coach. It goes more than just giving the right amount of NIL money to whatever prospects or transfers you can get. It's keeping them here. And if you're on the road, then like let's flip it vice versa, right? Let's say you're a 5-star freshman who commits to Arizona State and you're on the road for all these Big 12 games and you're like, wow, like look at what they're doing with their basketball program. At the end of the day, if you're doing a tiebreaker between staying at Arizona State and going to another school, you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to go with the one that clearly has more of an investment in this. We say the same thing with football facilities, right? what's the one thing when we ask these football players, like, what do you want to add? And they say, we need a practice facility attached to the stadium because that's what other schools have. You need to match the standard of the conference you're in. And in more ways than one, Arizona State men's basketball is nowhere near the standard that is set for the Big 12. So
you don't even need to meet. You don't need to just meet the standard. If you're trying to consistently do what you've done in the 4 sports in winning Big 12 championships and the 4 others that were runner-ups, you need to exceed the standard. And like you said, Arizona State men's basketball, DFA as it stands right now, does not meet the standard. It doesn't exceed the standard, but I don't want it to go like the DFA issue is just falling on deaf ears, because it's not, right? Graham Rossini understands that changes need to be made, but I think more so like the team needs to be competitive, right? Before you could say, hey, let's go invest a bunch of more money into this, especially when revenue sharing is coming into play, because now there is going to be a lot of discussions that need to be had about where X million dollars is going. And if there's a program right now that isn't succeeding at the level that it needs to be, then yeah, I would be shocked if they put a ton of money in it right away, because we know that's not going to be the case. Glenn giving you some props here. Ruba saying, great point, Erik. We were able to steal a lot of hockey players because they come here and see the hockey facilities in the desert. Yeah, Mullet Arena is one of the more unique facilities that Arizona State has, and one of the more unique hockey facilities in all of college athletics.
Yeah, listen, Tempe is a great attracting factor. The culture is a great attracting factor. The coaches can be, for certain sports, a great attracting factor. We know the players love Bobby Hurley, right? I mean, dude had the number 3 recruiting class in the nation last year, had multiple 5-star freshmen. I mean, players love this guy, right? And you do have to wonder, would things be different if you had better facilities to go along with that? I don't know, because I've never thought the problem with Bobby is recruiting. But if this is the final year of Bobby Hurley and you're going to go with a lower name person, you need to have some more stuff to sell people on, because your program's not going to have a lot of sticking points when it comes to this highly competitive college world of money and, NIL offers and what your facilities look like. And, just playing in the Big 12 conference, it's not a selling point anymore, right? Like you need to have something that sets you apart from the crowd. It can't just be the city that you're in.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And again, like, it feels like it's unfortunate that we continue to have to talk about DFA, given that this is something that's been, a point of contention with the university and Arizona State fans for some time now. Right? Like, even going back to when Ray was here, there were people barking and saying, hey, we need a basketball arena that meets a standard, that facilities wise, we have faith in, that we want to go play in. That's a fun place to actually go be at. But you bring up the name, the guy, Bobby Hurley. That was another big question today at media availability. I promise you, we're going to get into that on the other side of our final break.
Finally, there is an app that lets you bet with anyone on anything at any time, and VMe is proud to partner with PHNX to launch a brand new way to bet. A first-of-its-kind person-to-person betting app that wagers can be for money, like our free throw competition that we have up on socials now, or for free. And you can bet on anything: sports, video games, if you're playing Graham Rossini, and college football 26, fantasy matchups, golf games, poker nights, push-up contests, who chugs faster, how many renovations are going to make a DFA. You can do it all on VMe. One-on-one or group challenges, whether you're running a poker game buy-in or throwing cornhole in the backyard, VMe is here for you. The best part, no more chasing cash. I don't trust the Venmo guy, and you shouldn't either. Send a bet, and all the money is collected up front. No more I'll pay you later, and no more sore losers. Listen, like I mentioned, we did our free throw competition. I was not worried about Anthony Totri skimping out and not giving me my $20 because we used VMe. Download the VMe app today and play today using code PHNX. Available on the App Store and Google Play. VMe, anyone, anything, anytime. Remember, use code PHNX.
Look, we're talking about renovations to DFA. I've got an easy fix for Graham Rossini, and it's just call Empire today. fix the floors over at DFA, spice them up a little bit. You know they are flooring experts that are going to help you and Arizona State every single step of the way when it comes to new flooring. Maybe you guys are in the market for some home renovations, specifically your flooring. I can tell you what, you don't want to go to the big box store because you're going to wander around. Nobody's going to be able to help you. You're going to have a bunch of different questions that people just frankly won't know the answers to. And even if you do get all the answers, you're going to go home and you're probably going to have to do it all by yourself. And we know that is probably nobody's first choice, but Empire today, I'll tell you what, they should be your first choice. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHNX. Yes, you heard it right, a $350 discount with PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHNX for full details. Glenn says he's got me in the rematch, man.
We'll see. I'm down to run it back. I'm pretty disappointed in myself for my performance. So,
what do you think, Deli Man? Do you think? Do you have faith in me? What are the betting odds here?
I think it's -110.
-1.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a split here.
Yep. It's a total toss up.
Wow. I mean,
what if we do? What if we do like a kicking competition?
Like a kicking competition,
field goal competition.
I'll wipe the floor with you. I played soccer growing up, dude. I would wipe the floor with you.
Different football, my friend.
Wouldn't even be close. It's still kicking it, my guy.
I'm not stranger to kicking, brother. So
let's do it.
That'll be fun.
Let's do it. I'm down. Glenn says winner gets a swirl. Specifically a frosty swirl.
Strawberry swirl girl.
Yeah, strawberry swirl. Not
you
like
don't get
swirly.
me if you win. No,
Yeah,
you don't
not
get
like
the strawberry swirl girl if you win. You get to eat a strawberry frosty, but you don't get me. Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll discuss.
I am not on the line.
We'll go back and forth here. Look, I do want to get to what Graham Rossini had to say about Bobby Hurley. He is clearly going into his final year of his contract. It was, again, something that was discussed heavily after the season ended for ASU men's basketball. It was a disappointing first year in the Big 12 for Bobby Hurley and company. And Graham Rossini didn't mince words when asked about the Arizona State men's basketball coach, Bobby Hurley.
I believe in Bobby Hurley, and we're still developing our relationship, and we had a lot coming at us last summer as I took the job. We had this incredible rise going on in football, and I didn't get a chance to spend as much time with Bobby late in the summer, early in the fall as I would have hoped to. And so we're still building our rapport. I'm still learning how he's operating and what he's wired by. I know he wants to compete, and I know he wants to be a Sun Devil, and he's got a decade of history at this institution, and it's been, there's been some highs and lows in there, but the body of work has been largely successful, and you kind of put that tenure up against some of the other eras of Sun Devil basketball. I just think there's more in the tank, and I'm excited to lock arms with Bobby and his coaching staff and figure out how do we do this together. And yeah, they're backs against the wall. We don't know what lives beyond next April at this point, but we're also not reserving that's going to happen at any one specific moment. It's going to happen when we get to a decision on where we go next. But for the time being, I want to build my relationship. I want to find out what role I can play and our department can play in having men's basketball be as successful as it can be. And we're going to continue to push those levers together. So, we'll see. We'll see where that lends us.
That is a fascinating answer. Do you know why I think that's a fascinating answer?
He believes in Bob.
I told
you at the start of this show, you were going to hear things that you were going to either scratch your head about or you were going to punch a hole in a door about. This is probably one of those things.
I think the thing that, listen, Will saying largely successful is a very subjective statement. He's got to say what he's going to say. He's going to go out there and say Bobby Hurley sucks. Like, come on. What is he going to do?
Well, and to his point, regardless of you and I's opinion about Bobby, which I know you and I are on pretty much the same page, which doesn't coincide with what Graham just said. But if you are looking at the quote, largely successful, in terms of other Arizona State men's basketball coaches, that is not a lie. That is the truth. But again, We both agree that the standard should be higher than what it has been in the past for ASU men's basketball.
Yeah, agreed. I think the thing that really caught my attention was that he's still learning about Bobby Hurley. He's still learning how he operates. I don't love that. Don't love that answer. I'll be honest with you. I think the other stuff.
They've only worked closely together for less than a year.
Yeah, but you don't. But I mean, he mentioned like the football stuff. Like, I don't love that answer.
I'm still
honestly.
learning how Totri operates, and we've been working together for 4 years.
I don't think Totri is a man of mystery. You'll never know how he fully
And you think
operates.
Bobby isn't Mr. Diet Coke in the locker room?
Mr. No eating before games. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not like panicking over it. I thought that was interesting.
I think, again, and in the same way that he hasn't put himself in a box outside of the Sam Leavitt box, which we both agreed was good, I don't think he put himself in a box here. Like, what did he say that we didn't already know? Right? What's he gonna say? I don't believe in Bobby Hurley. That's not a good way to go into a contract year, right? Like, they're going into the final year of a contract. He was asked a follow-up question about, like, what is it going to take? Do you have those discussions with Bobby? Like, are you point blank? Is it an NCAA tournament appearance? Is it an NCAA tournament win? Is it 20 wins? And it's like, he wants to compete. Bobby wants to compete. We know that. I think you and I have set the standard of, like, okay, you need to make the NCAA tournament, not be a first 4 team. And you probably have to win at least one NCAA tournament game if you are going to get a contract extension. Whether that is actually what the standard is moving forward into this final year, that is up to Bobby, or that is up to, Graham Rossini and this athletic department. But I think from his answer right there, like, I'm not losing any sleep over it. If Graham feels like he needs to support his coach, which he would do for every coach that is at Arizona State, then so be it. But I'm not losing sleep over him saying that he believes in Bobby Hurley, because I'm not saying that. I'm not sitting up here saying that. I know you're not sitting up here saying that. I know Shane's not up here saying that. But if he ends up succeeding, then sure, I'll eat crow. Like, that's just how it's going to go.
Yeah, listen, you cannot expect this guy to go out there and be like, yeah, he's a sin duck.
Yeah, like, what's he supposed to say?
What? No. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So, I mean, it's a fascinating situation. I really do wonder what is going to turn out of this. Listen, if Bobby makes the tournament with this roster, he's going to have to do one hell of a coaching job. So yeah. I think that even then, like, I don't know what the standard could be set when you don't know how much money is being poured into it, and you also don't know how you're going to be able to get that type of talent. So I'm fascinated to see what the standard is for Bobby Hurley. I don't see many scenarios where Bobby Hurley ends up continuing to be the head coach of Arizona State University after this season, but still getting to know the guy, so we'll figure it out.
Look, there is one thing that's for sure, is given Bobby Hurley's end of the season track record, he could benefit, and so could Arizona State, from maybe an expanded NCAA tournament. This was one of the more surprising questions and answers, in my personal opinion, that Graham got, just in terms of the potential expansion of the NCAA tournament. And Graham, as you'll see here in a second, is 4 more teams being in the NCAA tournament.
I like the idea of expansion. We're starting to talk about that a lot more at a Big 12 level. I think the reality is, when you're in a sport that's got hundreds of teams that compete at a high level, we're in the business of creating opportunities. We're not trying to diminish the purpose of a national champion. There's still a format where you're going to get to an Elite 8, you're going to get to a Final Four, you're going to get to a national champion. But if it means 6 or 8 more fan bases get a chance to touch March Madness, I mean, we've seen what that does for universities, big and small. And much like we've seen in professional sports or even the college football playoff, when you expand that pool, it didn't change anything about the national championship in football, the fact that we were in it as part of an expanded field this year, but it gave our community and our fan base so much more benefit and core memories and a lifetime of memories to think back on. I think the same could happen in the basketball tournament if they choose to expand. So I don't know what the right number is. I haven't studied the formula and the logistics and the financials of that, but conceptually, I'm definitely a proponent of expanding March Madness and letting more kids and more programs and more fan bases touch March Madness.
Interesting. I know Shane doesn't like it. Do you dislike it too?
No, listen, of course that's what an athletic director would think, and I don't blame him for thinking that, because you might be one of those 4 schools that might bring you some extra money. Tournament's perfect. Doesn't need to be touched. It is the ultimate sports experience. 64 teams is plenty. Plenty. So many schools get so many amazing opportunities to go on a run. It's not the same as football. Don't change it.
Is it not 68? It's 64.
All right.
It's 68 now because of the first four.
Yeah.
First four, but it's the round of, you know what I mean.
I hear you. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like the NCAA tournament as it is. I'm not the biggest fan of the college football playoff expansion, comparison, just because that went from 4 to 12. There's already 60 plus teams in the NCAA
Totally
tournament.
different.
So
Totally
that's just my
different.
2 cents on it. But again, we're celebrating the Graham-iversary. Let us know in the comments what your personal experience with Graham Rossini has been, especially if it's been a positive one. We'd love to see it in the comments. That is going to do it for today's episode of the PHNX Sun Devils show. We will, like I said, we'll have a little bit of a one-on-one with Graham Rossini that will go up on social at the very least, hopefully on YouTube as well, that you guys can check. So make sure you're subscribed to PHNX Sports. Hit the like button. Again, hit the subscribe button. Drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you tune in to the PHNX Suns show, round 2 of the NBA draft. The Strawberry Swirl Girl will be hosting that program.
Bashir Jihad, you are a Phoenix Sun.
I'm here for it. And if you did enjoy today's content, give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow Professor Oates, the man in the TV, at Erik Ruby. That's Erik with a K. You can follow the Deli Man at Shane Deef. We'll see you on Friday, but in the meantime, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.